Yep.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated.
Councilmember Bardini.
Here.
Councilmember Tatino.
Present.
Councilmember Foreman.
Here.
Councilmember Rye.
Here.
Supervisor Albrecht.
Here. So I got one item for special consideration to use EFPR to do our statements to the state. That's the only the only amendment I have. I'll present that as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Make a motion to accept the agenda. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we got one item for special consideration. Next up is acceptance of minutes, Town Board regular meeting, June 4th, 2025, 7 PM. Presented as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next up is introduction of new employees. We got any new employees here today? Okay, I don't see any. Next up is privilege of the floor for any town item. So this opportunity to speak about anything regarding the town of Fishkill.
Good evening, members of the council. First of all, I'd like to give you thanks for the last meeting that we had here. The management from ShopRite Supermarket and the management from Sam's Club. I'd like to give you thanks, Mr. Supervisor, for the proclamation that the town gave them. And they feel that you guys did the right thing and that they will continue to work with us in our community, and they were very thankful. So today I'm representing the food pantry. First of all, Eddie Colon, who, as Mr. Foreman calls me, the ambassador to the food pantry. So on July 12th and 13th, ShopRite is doing the veteran campaign. So this time for the first time, we're going to team together the veterans and the food pantry, and we're doing a food drive on these 2 days. The veterans will keep any money donations and share among the organizations of the veterans of Dutchess County. The food pantry will keep the food. In this, also in there will be MHA. There's the Mental Health of America, which is going to put a table out there, a team together out there, and also K104 is going to be present there. So what I'm asking is anybody out here in the community wants to participate in this, and we also inviting you, members of the board, to come and share and help us out with these two organizations for a good cause, because it's the veterans, and we all do everything for our veterans and for the food pantry. And I know Fishkill, the town of Fishkill and the village of Fishkill, they're very strong when it comes to help in the community. So I wish that some of you will attend and help me out on this one. Let's take one for the team. It's going to be from 8 to 4, 2 days, and we hope to both organizations to get something good out of it, because right now we are seeing dust. The dust on the food pantry shelves is empty. And I need to do this for 2 days, and the following week it will be Walmart. Now it's the summertime, the school is out, so there will be more clients coming in with their children because they have nothing else where, more food is spent. Last week I did a food drive, a BJ, and I collected, my goal was 50 boxes of food. I collected 70. And I went there this morning, and that was last Saturday. I went there this morning, and it's like nothing was done. So please come out there, give us a hand, and
Eddie,
and participate. Yes, sir.
with the veterans,
Are our Fishkill veterans involved with helping?
Yes, I spoke to Mr. What's
Virgil.
his name? Virgil on Sunday. He was supposed to get back to me. I'm still waiting for his call
Oh, great.
because I want him to participate because his part of it is it's the Fishkill veterans.
Sure.
I want them to be there also, all the veterans. So, or anybody that wants to come down here and give me a hand, because it's a long day. It's a long day, and I'm there from 7 o'clock in the morning until 4 or 5 o'clock. And every little bit helps,
I'll be dropping by.
like always.
I'll be there as well.
Thank you, sir. Okay, and I appreciate all your help.
You
Thank
got a
you.
different flyer with the times on there? Eddie?
Yes, so the time is,
there?
it's gonna be from
That's
8
just the date.
8 to 12.
What are the times, though?
8 to 4.
8 to 4.
They forgot to
both
put
days?
that. We didn't create this flyer. This is somebody else that created it.
All right.
But I will bring it in up to there, and I'll bring it to your office, and when Joe comes back next week.
We'll get it on there
So-
for next Friday.
All right, so I thank you very much, and please, let's go out there and give me a hand.
Thanks, Eddie.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody else like to speak? Anything regarding the town of Fishkill? Civi?
Hello, everyone. I'm Civi with Tails of Wagon. For those who don't know, we collect donatable goods, and we bring them to the local animal rescues and shelters. And I got another flyer. I was hoping we could do it for the month of August.
Everybody okay with that?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Always.
We'll take care of you, Civi.
Okay?
You're right there.
And,
Thank
Stack
you.
them up.
Stack them up.
I'll email you a copy.
Sure.
Okay?
Send it to,
Thanks,
Jo- send it to,
everyone.
send it to Joe, okay?
I will.
All right, take care,
Thanks,
Civi.
Civi.
Good night. Anybody else? All right.
on.
Sir, you're up. No, it's
Open for anything.
privilege of the floor for anything regarding the town of Fishkill. So this is your opportunity to speak about anything regarding the town of Fishkill.
We wait here for the resolution for the,
I'm going to be tabling that resolution tonight.
so that's not gonna happen tonight?
No.
Uh,
Well, you don't want to speak now?
Yeah, I'll still go.
Sure.
I'll just keep it real brief. It was my understanding that the town of Fishkill is proposing to put a sign up for the Revolutionary War burial ground.
Identify yourself, please.
Yep, Matt Kirk with Hartkin Archaeological
who?
Associates. Matt Kirk.
Okay.
With Hartkin Archaeological Associates. I've been involved with the archaeology and history of Fishkill for over 10 years with respect to the proposed development at Continental,
Is that
Speak
mic
into the
on?
mic, please. It's on. Speak into the mic, please.
with respect to the Continental Commons application that was before the planning board. So I've had experience actually conducting archaeology at the Continental Commons property, and I've done extensive research with respect to the history associated with that property. It's my understanding that the town is proposing to put a sign between Snook Road and Van Wyck Road commemorating Revolutionary War burial ground. As part of our archaeological investigations, we did identify what appeared to be a cemetery that was identified through ground penetrating radar, as well as excavations that turned up very fragmentary human remains.
Could I just ask a question real quick? Ozzy, is this sign, just for a little clarification for the audience,
Yeah.
the sign is for the memorial, not to designate burial?
Correct. So what we're going to do is that the monument was placed there in 1897. It may have been moved across the street back and forth. So we're going to dedicate a sign to that monument, that monument was in that area from 1897 to 1972.
You're
That's the
familiar with the
objective.
DAR monument that had been dedicated?
Absolutely, yep.
So
Yes.
our intention with this, since the monument has since been relocated elsewhere, is to
Yep.
commemorate where the monument had originally been installed, with a sign indicating that this is where this stone monument used to be located.
Understood. And it's, first of all, I want to commend the town for recognizing and promoting its history, especially with respect to the Revolutionary War. It's something to be proud of. It's something to be celebrated. It is certainly something that needs to be, I think, put forward to the public in terms of a sign. My concern is simply that we're designating this as a burial ground
No,
associated with the
we're not doing that.
Revolutionary War.
What we're going
No.
to do is designate that this marker was at this
Okay,
intersection.
That's fine, but the marker that was placed there before was simply just that, it was a marker. It didn't indicate that there was a Revolutionary War burial ground there. There is no historical documentation, contemporary historical documentation that says that there was a burial ground between Snook Road and Van Wyck Lake Road. There's none. There's nothing on historical maps that indicates that. The only evidence that suggests that there was something there was from an 1842 travel guide that was written some 80 years afterwards. We've done the archaeology there. I've been involved with numerous archaeological investigations. The most recent was at Lake George. If you're familiar with this, in Lake George there was a housing development that went through the permitting process without archaeology. The developer excavated and removed over 40 burials from the site. The burials were placed in a large pile, and myself, along with numerous other archaeological volunteers, spent months sifting through the sand to recover human remains. It was a team of experts, including Dave Starbuck, Chuck Vandry, Mike Lucas at the New York State Museum, among many, many others, who spent hours, countless hours, examining the human remains as well as the historical record. And it's only through that very long collaborative effort that we felt comfortable attributing that burial ground to the Revolutionary War. And that was based largely on the fact that there were 3 buttons associated with over 40 burials that could be attributed to a Pennsylvania regiment that was fighting in Quebec, that came back to Lake George and suffered from a terrible epidemic of smallpox. Within that cemetery was not only what appeared to be soldiers, but also women and children. At the time, burial grounds, encampments associated with the Revolutionary War included not just soldiers, but artificers who were responsible for making different types of materials, sutlers, as well as the families of those who were serving in the Army. And that burial ground actually reflects that wide number of different individuals, men, women, and children who were there. And so even from that laborious process, we can't be certain that everybody who was in that cemetery was actually a Revolutionary War soldier. All that to say is, I just urge you to use caution when you put up a sign. I urge you to use caution with the words that you use and with the place that you put it, because what we would like to do is reflect history and not mythology. The best way to honor those who served our country is to represent the historical facts, not a mythology that's being created in the modern world to advance perhaps other agendas. Thank you.
Anybody else? Sir,
Yeah, I wanted to make a presentation.
go on.
Give me a couple of minutes, just want to set up.
You have to do it at the podium, sir. Becky, okay.
Just set these 2 up.
Where would you like them?
Facing-
Right here is fine?
Yeah, so facing so the board can see.
Okay, got it.
A little bit more like this.
The other way.
Upside down.
This one we can put along the bottom there. Everybody can see that, right?
Yeah. I just want to make sure the camera can see it.
What camera?
The glare is on it.
Behind you.
Huh?
No.
This way?
Maybe you could just put it on the ground.
Yeah, let's
They'll
do.
zoom in on it.
You'll zoom in on it? Yeah, let's put it on the ground.
Okay.
I'll put this on the table.
Yep.
Lovely.
So before you speak, identify yourself and who you're with.
I am Glenn Byron.
Into the microphone, Glenn.
Good
Mr.
evening.
Byron.
I know all of you.
You did.
I'm Glenn Byron. I'm not with anybody, myself. I'm an independent researcher, and I'm writing an historical novel about Fishkill. Just give me one moment.
Great. I've known Guy as long as I've known Max.
Good?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Everybody can hear me? Okay. To the members of the Fishkill Town Board, to the friends of the Fishkill Supply Depot, to the residents of Fishkill, and Mr. Broccoli, if he was here, because that's about the property in question, he's the property owner.
He's here.
He's behind you.
Other side.
Hello.
First of all, we're not talking about his property.
I know. We're talking about something related to the property. So, thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. I'll make my comments brief, and I'll let the facts speak for themselves. My goal today is to finally put to rest this controversy about where the DAR monument originally stood on the day it was commemorated in 1897, as well as the Revolutionary War soldiers' mass burial ground supposedly located nearby. For the last 8 years, while collecting research for a historical novel, I watched, I witnessed, I overheard hearsay, because I was on the sidelines, rumors and misinformation from various people with differing agendas. My agenda has been very simple from the very beginning. It's a simple one: to pursue and know the truth, to understand how things have changed over many decades, and in this case over a century, and to finally put to rest this unending controversy about a mass burial ground of Revolutionary War soldiers. Many of you believe that the DAR monument was moved only once from the corner of Van Wyck Lake Road to where it stands today near the Van Wyck Homestead Museum. In fact, the DAR monument was moved twice. Once in 1911, when the Albany Post Road was being widened, and the second time in 1972 to make way for the Duchess Park Mall being constructed for the J.W. May department store. Facts matter. Truth matters. I intend to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt this evening to all present here tonight where the DAR monument originally stood in 1897. In my hand, I hold an original picture postcard of the DAR monument from 1905, which is represented right there on the bottom of that poster. I purchased this from a local antiquities dealer. The photograph on the postcard, and others taken around the same time, occurred only a mere 8 years after General Butterfield's 1897 address to an audience of over 3,000 people, dedicating the DAR monument to the fallen citizen soldiers of the Revolution. In this hand, I hold a CD disc provided to me by the New York State Department of Transportation under a Freedom of Information request I made in 2019. On that disc are all the early 1911 and earlier survey maps of the expansion of the Albany Post Road from Peekskill to Poughkeepsie, including the town of Fishkill. It was being expanded to accommodate a newfangled invention, the horseless carriage, or traveling motor car, or what we call an automobile as of today. By matching the picture postcard to the highway drawings, I triangulated, which is what this little poster over here is, the original location of the monument with the 1790 Albany Post Road stone marker set at 60 miles from the heart of New York City. And this marker was the one that the post riders on horseback in the latter half of the 18th century used to know that they arrived in the village of Fishkill to deliver the mail. You should all know that that original 1790 marker, which is right here, opposite where the McDonald's restaurant is, it still stands today. It sits across from the McDonald's restaurant and the parking lot. I then triangulated a known marker, a 1790 marker, across the road to the northeast corner of Van Wyck Lake Road, which at the time of the Revolution was carved out of the wilderness heading towards Honus Mountain. While during the 1911 road expansion, the stone marker was moved east to west. I'm going to tell you that again, east to west, but not north to south, because that would have changed the location being 60 miles from the heart of New York City. So they maintained the 66-mile distance from New York. Finally, the third marker in my triangulation here is the embedded, right here is the embedded New York State DOT survey road marker corresponding to where the original Albany Post Road intersected with the 1911 expansion. It intersected. And that's the location because that Albany Post Road was a straight run and then it angled off, and they were curving the road to accommodate motor cars. So this is a blow-up of the original marker as it exists today, and there, if you can look in this corner, that's the marker on the ground. Over here in the background is Maya Cafe, which means this marker is opposite that northeast corner. It's actually on the southeast. In 2019, to confirm my own satisfaction that the DAR monument had actually been moved not once but twice from its original location, I recreated a life-size blow-up. And then I walked around this little area in a 2 square mile, and I took numerous photos as I went, circumnavigating around this northeast corner of Van Wyck Lake Road. Using this triangulation method I have described, I was able to line up my pretend monument as close as possible to the DAR monument's original location as depicted in this postcard. In other words, I matched the landscape from the postcard with the reality of the local terrain. So let's examine that terrain. This poster is my dummy monument, my faux monument. There's Maya Cafe over there, and this is the postcard. Notice that the tree lines are near perfect match with each other, even separated by 120 years. They're a very close match. But most importantly, look at the cleft in the tree line here and here. This is 1905, this is 2019. You can see in my photograph the same cleft. What exactly is that cleft? It is the upper section of Van Wyck Lake Road as it curves away from Route 9 in an easterly direction to Mount Honus Mountain. And you can imagine that in the past, the work crews who had to clear away the trees and the vegetation was to allow for travelers to pass heading towards Swarthoutville. To confirm this, you could see for yourself. Don't they look alike? Don't the tree lines match? Doesn't the cleft line up? On the left side of my faux monument is Maya Cafe, which sits opposite the northeast corner of Van Wyck Lake Road. So the cleft is the continuation of this road up the hill. Here it is again. And this stone wall was the meets and bounds that they used back in the day in the late 1800s, early 1900s, to define the edge of the road, which was a bridle path that was being converted for motor cars. So now, if we move our eyes on my triangulation down from the corner of Van Wyck Lake Road to the New York State dot survey marker, it's embedded on the east side of Route 9, we can finally determine where the monument actually stood originally. To the east is the marker, and to the west, right here in this little circled area, is where the monument stood. Now, how do I show that? I show that because this faux monument was set up in the lawn area outside of the McDonald's parking lot to match the landscape. To me, to my eyes, this is incontrovertible proof that the monument originally stood on the west side of Route 9. With that in mind, and given that 114 years have passed from the time of the postcard photo to my 2019 photograph, and then an additional 6 years to today, it really is remarkable to note how close these two images actually are to each other. Would you agree? I've also collected additional postcard and pictorial evidence backing up what I'm stating here tonight. I emphasize again that facts matter. Your eyes do not deceive you. When you compare the physical evidence against hearsay and rumor and conjecture, believe what you see. I simply oppose placing a town placard because it's based on an erroneous assumption. It is demonstrably false and irrelevant to the actual facts, namely that there is no Revolutionary War mass burial ground on the future Continental's Commons property. The evidence is overwhelming and compelling, so believe your eyes. You be the judge of what I'm saying. You look at this and you tell me, I recreated that postcard. In my opinion, falsehoods should have no bearing on the decisions being made by the Fishkill Town Board. And therefore, there should be no more or further impediment to the development of Continental Commons. It promises jobs, an increased tax base to the town. It will be a tourism magnet to our wonderful Fishkill. I'm not stopping. Not only will it boost the economy, it will bring a greater interest to the important history Fishkill played during the Revolution, least of all being the place where our elected representatives of a fledgling United States of America from the great state of New York were proud to call Fishkill its first capital. Continental Commons can be a place where the spirit of that revolution comes alive, and that our experiment in democracy and living by its principles, which began here, can be taught and learned about and upheld for generations to come. In closing, I have observed a lot that has been written about the monument and the burial ground. I quote from the FOFSD website, "It is the Continental Army Burial Complex of the Fishkill Supply Depot." And on that website is this postcard, under which this caption, postcard circa 1905, depicting the original placement of the DAR monument of the soldiers of the War of the Revolution in Fishkill, New York, moved from its place near the burial ground. What evidence is there to support that? But I must inform you that when the DAR monument was placed in 1897, it was meant to be a commemorative monument, much like the Vietnam War Memorial is to us today, in our time. And that memorial had all the names of the soldiers who lost their lives during the conflict written on it. But they're not buried under the wall. So the monument, the DAR commissioned, and then held a very dignified commemoration ceremony, presented to 3,000 people, as attested to by newspaper clippings that I uncovered. It was representative of the high regard they held to the citizen soldiers who gave their lives for the cause of the revolution. And in the same way as we do now honor the Vietnam War veterans through that Vietnam War Memorial, which is with us today. So, in closing, as definitively and as clearly as I can state this, there is no mass burial ground of Revolutionary War soldiers off the corner of Van Wyck Lake Road. There is no evidence of that. So thank you for your time and attention, and I'm open to any questions you may have.
Just hold on. Yeah, thank you very much. Board members, on that picture on number 1, Route 9 was expanded, so that monument, so that mile marker has also been moved. That is not an accurate description of where that mile marker was in 1897. So that poster is inaccurate. So we'll just start with that. Mr. Beister, you're up. Yeah, Mr. Beister, no, not going back and forth. This is your time to speak, and that's it. This is not an open question for the gentleman. Your turn to speak.
Okay.
No. Get at the mic. You want to speak, you got to come to the mic.
I want to ask the gentleman when the,
I thought we're not going back and forth.
No. You are allowed to make a statement, not
Okay.
to question the guy.
the monument in the photograph that I have was positioned on, it looks very similar to what is on the lower photograph there. That was marked on the postcard 1907. So I wasn't sure, I wanted him to repeat when he felt it was moved. I don't disagree with it that it may have been moved, but basically I think, and also the fact that it was moved to the other side is irrelevant to whether there's a soldier's burial ground on that corner of the property. The evidence itself is you can come up with by looking more comprehensively. I think for convenience, that marker was moved to the other side when they realized that where it was moved to and shown in 1902 and where it was before it was moved to the Fishkill Historical Society, that is the location. And that, what this gentleman also said was that, it doesn't include the fact that they discovered bones there. There were 7 initially grave sites located by under the direction of the SHPO, and basically...
He did not interrupt you, sir. Hey, he did not interrupt you.
And basically, those 7 were exposed, and Mr. Broccoli, even in his own video, shows the exposure of one of the grounds where the skull was exposed. And the other 6 excavations, possible grave sites, were never excavated. And then he goes ahead and says there were some potential bone fragments found elsewhere. I don't know about that. I heard about it, but I don't know that a formal report has ever been submitted to SHPO on that makes it available to the public. But my position is, as I stated it last time, that there were 4 hospitals. There could have been more, but at least 4 hospitals in Fishkill. The one that was in what is the Fishkill Supply Depot, as defined in the National Register, as a 70-acre site, there were 2 of them. One was the barracks, and the other was one was the barracks, and the other was a barracks on the, actually 2 barracks on the north and south side, but in the 70-acre, it was the barracks on the north side of the Clove, okay? That was made a hospital, it's in the record, for William Heath's sick and lame soldiers. And I believe that that basically in 1776, his soldiers filled that hospital, and they were very sick. Also at that time, Trinity Hospital was, not Trinity Hospital, but the Fishkill Academy had also been opened. There were 230 soldiers in the academy that were under the command of Major General McDougal, Alexander McDougal. The people that were in, the soldiers that were in the hospital where today is the McDonald's, basically roughly where the big McDonald's is, that they were under William Heath's division. So because there was a hospital there then, and then there were other hospitals in the village, the Fishkill Academy, and also the Trinity Church, those three hospitals contributed to the burial of the soldiers in that burial ground that's in the northeast corner of Route 9 and also the Van Wyck Lake Road. What was also not brought out in this discussion is the fact that there were archaeological studies done on the west side of the highway where now this gentleman claims this marker was. That's fine. And basically, that tax lot makes more sense to me. But in the examination of that property during the archaeological examination of that property didn't turn up any burial grounds in that area.
Correct.
And I think the deciding factor in that is the fact that there are remains in that corner lot, and they refer to the hospital, the Fishkill burial ground, and it's true, I believe too, that not only soldiers are buried there, but also the remains of perhaps two young children and their father. His last name was Wicks. And basically, there are also other people that could be buried there, especially the French regiment that was here, or the Canadian regiment that was here during the Revolutionary War and stationed in Fishkill. Just this alone, his facts I can't refute. But the fact is this not a comprehensive examination of all the facts that say, to me and many others, that that burial ground in the northeast corner of Van Wyck Lake Road in Route 9 is a Revolutionary War burial ground that we believe contained soldiers. The examination using the ground penetrating radar turned up 320 anomalies. I was in the room when the archaeologist that was, or the archaeologist that was doing that did that calculation, and I did that calculation myself. True, we don't know in what's buried in all those 320 anomalies, whether they're even grave sites, but nobody's proved otherwise either. I think the argument stands, and it's not refuted by what this gentleman presented tonight, that that is a Revolutionary War burial ground with Revolutionary War soldiers.
Thank you, Mr. Bias. Anybody else? Mr. Broccoli? All right.
All right. I'm going to put a lot of myths to rest today, and I also want to commemorate Ghazi on the markers. I think that's a great idea for the 250th, but I want to make some suggestions.
That's what we're here for, Mr. Broccoli. We're looking just to commemorate the marker, not identify anything
No, I
else.
understand. Like you're saying, and he's saying that the soldiers buried there. I understand.
Very much not saying that. We are not saying that.
Just hold on a second. Just that number 1 is inaccurate.
What's that?
The number 1 that he pointed out is inaccurate because they moved the mile marker. That's not the accurate spot for that mile marker. So his whole calculation
Well,
is not.
honestly, I
You're not-
know.
You're not with him?
I know, absolutely, I know.
Oh, okay.
This is the first time I heard your speech. I helped him make the banners, because he was
Okay.
gonna put it on a little piece of paper, and I volunteered to make it larger. So for that, I did. But as far as his speech, I do appreciate that you mentioned the rest, the property, but that wasn't really supposed to be part of it. This is another diagram, photos. I wouldn't mind if you look at it. This
Yeah.
is the DAR marker, again, in 1897. This is from the Duchess Mall photograph facing north. So if you look at the mountains, the mountain ranges, you can see the mountain ranges from, this is the same spot from the Duchess Mall. So if you look at it, there's no question that the mountain range in the background of this is from the west side of Route 9, where the McDonald's is, facing north. This is where the marker was when it sat on my property, facing east.
The other way.
Could you
Right.
tilt
Now,
that-
if you take a photograph.
Mr.
I know
Broccoli,
this is
could you-
kinda clumsy.
It's just no, it's just the glare, if you, yeah.
Okay, if I just do that and not use that little thing here. You have to stand way across the street from the Duchess Mall to get some sort of a mountain. When it was on my property, it was in the corner there. Now, if you look at this, I just want to show, I'm sorry. I apologize. Yeah.
So, Mr. Broccoli, you're saying the monument was located on your property for many years, but that's because it was its second location and not where it was initially installed?
It's the third time it was moved is at the Fishkill store.
Okay, thank you for
But I'm
that
going to give you some
clarification.
really good ideas, I think, for the 250th.
No, hold on, Mr. Vice, you had your turn. You had your turn.
I'm from the public, I can't see what he's doing.
All right, watch the video tomorrow.
Forget it, I should see it
So
now.
this is
Just stand there.
Please, Mr.
the Huey, Paul Huey, when he was at the property in 1968, he took a photograph from the west side of Route 9 facing the DAR.
What's the street right there, the sign, what's that
This
say?
is- This is.
No, no,
Route
I'm sorry,
9.
the street sign, sir.
Say that?
the street
No,
sign.
this is
No,
a
no, not
billboard.
that.
There's
The
a
other picture.
little street sign in between the
Is that
monument
van
and the
with-
billboard.
This is Lake Road.
Perfect.
Okay.
So when you, guys, when you see this on the thing, there's that billboard.
Right. That's, you
Yeah.
see this billboard?
I know what it is now. I was trying to
Okay.
figure out what that was.
There's two billboards. It was an angle. If people lived here back in the day, there were two billboards on the property. Hence, hundreds of anomalies. Because the billboard is going to have a foundation. The foundations are dug at probably the depth of a grade, 4 or 5 feet, whatever they are. That's why. So where that DAR monument is, there were a lot of anomalies, there's no question. But the DAR marker is facing east. If you just move slightly to the road, this is the mountain view you see. That is not a mountain range that you see in the 1897 photo. There's no question. It was not on my property back in 1897.
What year was it placed on your property?
1911.
Okay.
And I'm going to show you the proof beyond the reasonable doubt that it was placed on that property before I owned it, though, Ozzy. I didn't own it.
Not in 1911.
Okay. This is, okay, we've got a lot of billboards. Okay. This says, this is a 1911 DOT map. This is a survey. If you read here, it says land to be acquired from Albert Knapp. Albert Knapp owned the land where the Duchess Mall is, and he owned the land on the east where my property is. So if you read the DAR ceremony, it talks about how Albert Knapp allowed them to put the DAR monument on the property, but it was on the west side of Route 9. Also, if you read the DAR speech, it talks about the Trinity Church Hospital, where the soldiers passed away, and the lower barracks. The lower barracks are 3 miles south, okay? The adjoining field was the encampment area. That's why it said in the adjoining field, because that field connected the 2 cemeteries. So there's no question that the lower barracks, which is 3 miles south, is where the soldiers were buried. The second burial is at the Trinity Church, and the third burial is where the road turns off the turnpike to the east. It's to the east of the village. That's Rumbout Cemetery. Okay? And
Disagree with you on that
evidence.
one.
I won't say things if I don't have evidence, because Doria Katrubis was here. She conducted a GPR study, and I just want you to know that in 2014, the Friends of the Fishkill Supply Depot had an event, and the board members of the Rumbout Cemetery said they would like to conduct a GPR study to find the mass burial at Rumbout. I have all the documents here. When she conducted that GPR study, she found areas of mass burials, bodies on top of bodies. Now remember, the Army took over the cemetery. That's why there's no documentation of who's buried there. But what Ms. Katrubis did find is a few inches under the ground is a monument that was buried of a Revolutionary War cemetery. So there's no question that's where they're buried. But I'm not here to discuss that. Now, if you look here, after DOT buys the land from Mr. Knapp, now, if you look before and after, look at the corner. There's no DAR monument on that corner. But if you look here, after they acquire the property, there's a DAR monument there. That's when it was brought to the property, in 1911,
And Mr. Knapp was the property owner at that time?
both properties,
At that time when it was moved?
1911.
And he didn't object to
So
it
you
being
can
moved?
see this. If you look
No,
here,
what I'm saying is, in 1911, Mr. Knapp owned the property
Yes.
too?
If
So
you
did he,
look-
did he object to it being put there?
I would have assumed, I can't say for sure what happened, but I would assume that they probably said, could we move it up across the road?
Okay.
Because they were never going to expand the highway east, because it goes into the mountain. They were always going to go west. So he probably said, just throw it on my property. But I just want you to see something. Watch this. Hold on, I got so much stuff I don't need. All right. If you look at this survey from 1911, this is a 1936 aerial photo. And if you look at it, you can see the bend in the road after they straightened out Route 9. So I duplicated it with the yellow mark. And below here is that survey. So it matches. There's no question that it was moved. So it was moved to the property in 1911.
Okay.
It was not originally placed on my property. Now, to commemorate what you want to do for the 250th, which I think is great, now I'm going to show you something else. This is Paul Huey. Paul Huey was an archaeologist who took that photo of the DAR mine. What Paul Huey did is he took the Erskine map. The Erskine map showed the encampment. Okay, so the Fishkill Supply Depot was the entire town of Fishkill. The encampment was where my property is. Okay? Now, if you look at it, he did an overlay. He placed the barracks at the curve in the road that's in that 1911 survey where they straightened out the road. If you look how close the barracks, the upper barrack encampment was to the Maya Cafe structure. It was at that bend in the road. Paul Huey said that part of those barracks were probably destroyed when they widened Route 9. So, if you look at that, and my property is a few feet away, not miles as people say it's down the block, no, it was a few feet away. And General von Steuben, during the war, his headquarters, as you know, was Kip House, and he had another headquarters down near Mount Julian. He was the one who was training soldiers to be soldiers. In his war manual, he said that dead animals are to be buried a half a mile away from the encampment. Now, if he was a member, if he visited Fishkill, he was part of this community. Do you think von Steuben or any soldiers are going to bury their fellow soldiers who have smallpox a few feet away? It's not going to happen. But I'm bringing this map up also because what Paul Huey did is he did an overlay of archaeological finds that were in the community in this area. Stables were likely on my property. That's why the restaurant that I'm building looks like a stable, to honor. It was never found, and after the war, people dismantled the barracks, they dismantled all the stuff, they took it home. There's no sign of any of this. But what I'm suggesting for the 250th, I would love to see a historical sign put in the area where the stables were. The other thing that they found were the foundations of the blacksmith shop. Now, the blacksmith shop, if you look here, was directly across the street from the Van Wyck Museum, I'm sorry. Which, back in the day, this was drawn in 1968. The highway was only two lanes wide. So you could say that that blacksmith shop was probably where the median is. So either you put a blacksmith shop on the median, or you put it in front of the Van Wyck homestead on the corner. So now you would have two markers.
I think, Mr. Broccoli, I think the objective is the DAR monument, to say it was in this vicinity, and place it in either, if we get permission from the state, on 9, if not, we put it on Van Wyck Road. We're not gonna get into anything else. It'll basically say,
The whole encampment.
that's a lot of signs.
Well, you want to do something big for 250th, I think this is a great
We're doing a lot for the 250th.
Now, look, over here where the road is, if you go at the Maya Cafe, you can still see that road. It exists. So the west side of then Route 9 is currently on the east side of today Route 9. So you could put a marker there marking the location of the upper barracks. And if you want to commemorate the DAR monument, just put it across between the McDonald's and the road on the west side. And that should honor the lower barracks and Trinity Church. So you could get that little area that would be so, what I wanted to do is I wanted to make like virtual reality, where you get your phone and you just span, and as you span, you'll see the barracks, you'll see the stables, you'll see, that would be a great thing to do. You could do that throughout Fishkill. You could go to Fishkill, go to whatever site you want, look through a virtual reality where they're making the sword, and you could actually watch them forge the sword there. So, anyhow, sorry I took so long.
That's okay. No, I'm glad you came.
Good.
Good education.
Mr. Broccoli, could I see that sign?
Which one?
That one, that you're holding. Do you need it back tonight?
No, you want? I have.
Thank you.
That's
I have
online too.
material for you.
Okay, anybody else like to speak? Okay, Marty, go on.
I do have material, but if this is not a hearing, you really don't.
I will take it.
No, we always accept it.
Please
Go
give
ahead.
it.
Please.
Like I said, we're only
Pretty
gonna,
much everything I told you.
we're only gonna commemorate the DAO monument in the area. That's
But
the
why wouldn't you
objective.
want to do the encampment? I mean, it's up to you, but I think
We,
that would
we,
be awesome.
we could add that later.
Yeah.
Why not do it for the 250th? I'll buy
We can do that.
signs.
Do you want this back?
We got a sign machine.
You'll,
No, but I mean, like, DOT, I think that's awesome. I really would like to, I'll put one. I mean, I'm putting a building that is looking like the Staples.
I was wondering what that thing was. I could never find out what it was.
did you get one of, did you get this?
I didn't know it was, I thought it was like a barrier or something.
No, no,
It's a
there's
building.
two.
I thought there was
It goes
two.
this way and it goes that way.
Yeah.
I have more photos.
Do you have same material you can give our attorney?
Oh, I'm sorry. This is the speech, the DAR ceremony speech. If you read this, you'll see that it was, they were honoring the Trinity Church and yonder barracks and cemetery where the soldiers lie.
Thank you.
Which is the lower barracks.
Thank you.
The first thing you handed out to.
Is that- okay.
Good?
And this is the
Is that
town
okay?
resolution, Ozzy.
Yes,
I
sir.
know that you said it mentions that it was brought to my property, but if you read I cleared it up because it was kind of blurry. It says the memorial is to mark the soldiers' burial grounds with an S. Trinity Church and Lower Barracks. That's why there's an S. And if you notice, it says permission granted for erecting and maintaining the said monument at the roadside. So it was a roadside monument commemorating the revolution.
Okay, thank you,
So
Mr.
it wasn't-
Brown.
And Mr. Knapp's name is not on there because they just said that they gave him permission to put the monument south of the village.
I appreciate it.
No place was. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Brockman.
Thank you,
Marty,
Mr.
go on.
Broccoli.
Two things. One is, put a lot of emphasis on the location of that monument, and basically, to me, ultimately, it's irrelevant, because it was moved later, I think, to accommodate the exposition of it. It was back on somebody's field, they wanted to bring it close to the road. That's one point. The next point is the upper and lower barracks. The lower barracks, I presume, is on the other side of the on the other side of the Clove, where basically now we have a cement manufactory and some kind of other industrial or semi-industrial things going on, including a quarry. That site is on the hills there, where Fort Leatherbuckle was located. There were the three redoubts that the DAR mentions. That there were 13 graves spotted on the north side of those sand hills that remained. 13 graves. Maybe they came from the barracks, the lower barracks. I'm not refuting that, but basically that does not establish whether the sick and wounded that were brought into the upper barracks, which is on the north side of the Clove, weren't buried in the adjacent field across Route 9, where now is the, we call it the Soldiers' Burial Ground, in the northeast corner of Van Wyck Lake Road and Route 9. And then, oh yes. The other thing is Mr. Broccoli said, well, you're supposed to bury these people more than 10 feet or whatever the heck he said, away from the barracks. Well, in Schenectady, New York, not to a stone's throw from my house, was a Presbyterian church. Now I'm not sure what it is, but basically before the Presbyterian church, there was a barracks. And they excavated, when they were excavating for additional work in the back of the barracks from on Union Street, which was the front of the church at least, they found 27 Revolutionary War soldiers that were exhumed, and their bodies were removed and reinterred at the Vale Cemetery, and so marked. To me, the fact that you're not supposed to bury people close to the barracks, I think is irrelevant here also.
I agree with that one.
Thank you.
Thank you. Want to follow up?
Yep. I cannot believe that no one would challenge what he just said about the importance. Wait, about the importance of the original DAR monument's location.
This is privilege
Since
before.
this whole controversy is around where that monument was. And if it was not a burial ground where that monument stood, then it was a commemoration.
Your presentation was inaccurate because the mile marker was not in that place in 1790. It was in a different location. You did not take account for that.
The 1790 mile marker never moved
Yes, it did
north-south.
move.
It moved
When they moved
east-west.
the road, they would have built over the thing if they didn't move it.
They did move it east and west,
Yes.
but they didn't move it north and south,
How do you know that?
because it shows it up on the NAP map.
Okay. Thank you very much. Anybody else like to speak? All right, that's the end of that. And this was pretty good tonight. I like that.
Yeah, it's very.
Mr. Beister, Mr. Broccoli, that was good.
Thank you, Mr.
It
Broccoli.
was the gentleman with
nice.
the B names.
Yes,
The B
Byron,
names.
Mr. Beister, Mr. Broccoli.
3 Bs. That was good.
We're not going through the alphabet tonight, are we?
No.
Good.
That was good. That was good.
Why, you left your notes home?
This was good, guys.
Well, I mean, if we are, then Adam's going to have to wait quite a while before he speaks, because he's an S.
That's a long way to go. All right. Liaison member reports. Jackie?
I don't have any.
Greg?
I'll keep things moving.
Go. Oh.
Yeah.
Nothing, Greg?
No, you passed.
All right, real quick, I spent 3 days up in Lake George attending the Hudson Valley Firemen's Parade. I attended the dedication of the new Roundabout Firehouse on Route 82. And of course, the monthly breakfast at the Roundabout Fire District, and I squeezed in a couple meetings with the supervisor. That's it.
Brian?
I think we all, a number of us here attended either the funeral or the memorial for Chuck Hogart.
Yes.
Hodgart. I always mess up his last name. a great veteran of World War II, a great member of our Veterans Committee. His grandchildren told me at the viewing that because of our Veterans Committee, he had opened up more than ever before and talked about his past experiences in the war. So I just find that to be a magnificent addition to not only the board creating a Veterans Committee, but also how it is in some ways therapeutic to our membership to bond, veterans to bond and have a brotherhood together. In addition to that, I went to the Rombout substation dedication as well, and that was a magnificent ceremony opening that substation. We're very proud of Rombout, and we're proud of that substation because I know it's going to be great service to that section of town. And I did check in with the Fishkill Police Cadets this week. Last week, they are having some sort of competition that's coming up, and they're all practicing and working very hard, and we all continue to be extremely proud and supportive of them.
Well done, thank you,
I
Ryan.
would just like to jump in now that Mr. Ryan mentioned the service for Mr. Hogart. Would just like to give a tip of the cap to our Veterans Chair, Virgil Capillari, who delivered a very touching eulogy for Chuck at that at the funeral, and it was a privilege to be there and witness that and see how loved and respected he was by his community and his family. And I'm sure our condolences all go out to his family at this time.
Thank you. All right, I have no comments. Let's get this thing rolling. No presentations. First discussion is the town board to discuss changing the name of Tompkins Avenue to Tompkins Lane. So far, there's was it 13 residents or 15? 13?
It was 13, and
13.
we wanted 7.
So it's 3-2 against. So Becky, let's close number 1 out. I don't think that's going to happen.
They will continue to get mail sent to the wrong address.
Yeah, number 1. Discussion, yeah. Close it out. Number 2, discussion of the property maintenance log around Van Wyck Lake Road intersection on Route 5282. So we already had this done. Mr. Gaba sent them a letter. You guys okay with me moving on it?
Sure.
Okay.
It's been too long.
Yeah, there's just a bunch of cars there, and there was a special car there no one was able to get. It was a 69 Shelby, so that got removed, so no one's getting that one. The rest is not worth anything. All right, next up is discussion and resolution confirming the property maintenance violation and authorize remedial action at 1574-1576 Route 52. Go on.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Supervisor, members of the board. Nicholas Ward Willis with Keenan Bean, representing the property owner. With respect to this matter, we appeared before you about a month ago. We advised you that we were seeking a further extension of the site plan approval, which the planning board granted at their meeting, until September. We have satisfied all conditions required except for the letter of credit with respect to the performance bond and the construction work. We have worked with the town attorney on finalizing that language as recently as this week, received the final language from Mr. Gaba, and will be resubmitting that to the planning board secretary when we receive a revised letter of credit from the lending institution, which we anticipate receiving in the next couple of days. That's the last remaining item that then allows us to get the site plan signed. So we would request that the...
Who's this gentleman?
Certainly. Also with me from representative of the lender, Mr. Spiegel. Mr. Spiegel was here at the last 2 meetings. The lender has been present. There's also Mr. Vaccaro, who had to step outside but will be joining us. And so representatives of the lender were also present.
You plan on moving forward with this, sir?
The question is, are we planning on moving forward?
Absolutely.
So you'd like us to table this for a month?
We would request that you table it for a month, yes. We've been working diligently on this. I'm here because we have been working on it, and you've seen that in the actions we've taken. We would request that it be tabled.
Is this the same organization that has not paid, did you pay the back taxes on this property?
So we understand there's a tax bill of $1,800 due and owing. There have been discussions about that being paid, and Mr. Spiegel has advised me that that will be paid by next week, and that's our commitment to you. Okay. All the other taxes were caught up and previously paid, not the $1,800.
Okay. You good, Brian?
Yeah.
John?
Yep.
Greg?
Yeah, 1 month conditional on
Jackie?
you satisfying those
I'm
terms.
okay with that.
Next town board meeting, which will be August.
First Wednesday.
Yep, August 6th.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Happy July 4th.
You too.
Happy July 4th.
Same to you.
Next up, budget modification for insurance recovery. Everybody okay with that one?
Yep.
Are we going to table number 4?
We just, oh, yes, number 4 will be,
I think we satisfied that during the presentations from the individuals.
should we close this out and start from scratch?
I think so. Yeah.
All right, close it out. I'll work with the town attorney and John to come out with some language that'll basically in the area and move it from there.
Okay.
So let's close this one out.
All right.
Number 5, discussion of budget modification. Everybody okay with that one?
Yep.
Yes.
Number 6, discussion of resolution to declare 2021 cop car surplus. Everybody okay with that?
Yep.
And purchase of replacement. Number 7, discussion of resolution, budget amendment, town outside village fund for police replacement vehicle. Everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's the money coming from?
Insurance, right? Insurance.
Insurance.
The car that got crashed out front by,
So it's,
That was the
the
accident
insurance is covering it. Good. Okay.
most of it, yeah. Number 8, discussion of resolution, budget modification for town highway, receipt of capital lease proceeds to highway equipment. Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
9, discussion of resolution, budget modification, and clear account, capital project highway. This is like housekeeping stuff. Number 10, discussion of resolution to approve request for roundabout sewer district connection. So this is the big bases property. This has been before the planning board. So this is just this is on Route 9D, south of the Duchess Stadium. On the east side, this is an old construction site that needs remedial fixing up. So we have 3 areas that we got to clean up in the town of Fishkill: Duchess Mall, the 8252 area, and this guy right here. So for them asking for the sewer means that they're looking to move on this pretty quick. So I want to give them the sewer. Everybody okay with that?
And I'm assuming this will be in keeping with all
Yeah.
other sewer requests. They pay the connection fee and
Yes.
any other
Yes.
costs associated.
That's fine.
Are they zoned all correct? I mean, is there any
Yes.
issues in front of the zoning board?
No.
No, okay.
No. So this is one that's zoned, this property in the front is zoned commercial, the back is residential. When I first got in, the guy came in, wanted to put 200 homes and change the residential to the front. I told him, no, come back with some commercial.
Yep.
So once the front commercial is done, then they may come back in the back to rezone the residential into commercial.
Okay.
That would be probably a future town supervisor dealing with that in town board. Town board, so that's good.
Yeah, we're good
Next-
with that.
Next one, the town board discussed a water bill issue. Gentleman went on vacation, he came back.
What number is that?
Number
11.
11. So I'd like to give him a $50 discount if everybody's okay with that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Number 12, discussion and resolution to appoint Timothy Tyrell as zoning board chairman. Everybody okay with that?
Yes, but Supervisor, I would like to discuss while we're on this, because there is a second zoning board resolution, which does not have a discussion item.
Is it a separate resolution?
It is a separate resolution, but there's no discussion item for it.
So let's discuss it at the resolution then.
Wouldn't it be appropriate to discuss at
This
this
is-
juncture?
This is for the zoning chairman, not the zoning person. We could discuss it under the resolution.
Okay, I guess, all right.
Okay. Number 13, discussion of resolution to accept resignation of part-time police officer. Everybody okay with that one?
Good standing, yeah, absolutely.
Uh,
Thank you for your service.
Number 14, discussion of resolution authorize here's help staffing and recruiting for payroll. So here's the deal with this, number 14. I want to table that because I think we can, this payroll service only, if we use them as outside service, we still would have to have a secondary person just in case they can't do it, and I'm not favorable to that. So I just like to table this and train our own staff to do it.
I think anything that we
I
can
think that's a
handle
good idea.
in-house is usually going to be more cost-effective than something that we
I tend to agree with you.
handle, through a professional service.
Yeah.
So I would be inclined, if there's a way to resolve this, either by promoting from within, training existing staff, or hiring a new staff with direct qualifications, I would personally prefer that if possible.
Okay, so let's just table this one to August?
Yeah, let's just table it. If this ends up being the way to go, then we
Yes.
should do it. But by all means, let's exhaust every other option first.
Sound good, John?
Agree.
Brian?
That
Yeah.
sounds fine. I
Okay.
know that you and I talked about this, and
Okay.
there are some people on staff that probably can handle it, and we certainly want a new comptroller that has that skill set.
Yeah,
Right,
so
we
I'd like to
like
have the
it. I think-
controller, Lynn, and Sharon. I'd like to have 3 people that know how to do this. So this
Yeah,
way we
at
don't.
least
back
2.
up.
Yeah, we need to get back up with stuff like this. And I don't mind doing this, but when they say, if they can't do it, we have to have an alternative, what's the sense of having them?
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
I agree.
Yep. Number 15, discussion of modification of the town adopted budget to cover engineering. I believe that is for the park, Shepherd's Park. Let me double check on that one.
This is stormwater discharge.
Let me see which one that is for. You have it all there? Where it is? Yeah. Stormwater discharge. What is it, 85,000?
88.
88,000, yes. So this is the MS4 upgrades for the state. We have to do this, we have to do mapping and all kinds of stuff. How much was it, Greg? 84,000?
88,200.
So it's $88,200, and we have to do it or else we're going to get gigged by the state.
Right.
All right. And then the next one will be the resolution to adopt that, to pay for it.
So, is that moved to resolution?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And the next one, number 15, would be to pay for it. Everybody okay with that? Resolution. Number 16, resolution to amend the Fishkill procurement policy. Are we tabling that, ma'am?
Why?
As written, if the board is okay with those provisions, then you would be fine to adopt it, but I would defer to the board.
Carmine wanted a couple out of the consent to be pulled. Anybody
No
remember?
table.
Huh?
Do it in August.
Father to tell me that, so
Okay.
I have no.
Since I last spoke to
information on
him, I have not heard anything about it either.
Let me see what's in consent. Hold on a second.
Is this,
So why don't we table it and see what else he wants to add, subtract?
This is one of those moments where why couldn't Kevin be here tonight? He usually
This
is.
is the second one. The first one they pulled from a couple meetings ago, right?
Right.
This is the second one.
I thought-
So I thought it was the final, but.
I thought it was
maybe
the final too.
So did I.
Maybe I don't know.
Maybe he,
Yeah, I thought this was the final, because this was the newest one we received in.
right.
Are we tabling?
We should be sure before we
I
vote
think
on it.
it's, yeah, I think it's something else, though. He said something, he says take something out the consent agenda.
This is in consent?
Number
or-
10, yeah,
or
it's
is
in
it
10.
a standard resolution?
Yes, no, it's in consent. It's
It
number
is.
10 in consent. Councilman,
Okay.
1050, or 151.
Okay, let's move on. We'll talk about that when we get to consent. Number 10, discussion of earned time for town employees. Right now, go on.
Go, you can go. Explain it.
Yeah, right now, the employees are allowed to use earned time within one payroll period. And anybody interested in making it a little longer?
Yes.
Are we talking about longevity?
No, this is earned time.
Earned time,
I'm actually,
okay.
I'm very,
okay.
yeah, I'm very much in favor of expanding.
Yeah, because
That period of time.
Because it affects Cooper regularly.
Well,
That is one person
Yeah.
that affects regularly, and sometimes we're just too busy, he can't use it in
Mhm.
that big period.
Like, it affected, when I was secretary for the
Yeah,
supervisor, it would
it's
affect me because there would be occasions where, just for the sake of argument, the supervisor needed me to represent him or attend a town function with him on a Saturday. Say, for
Yeah.
instance, we had a food drive, but it was the Saturday before the Monday at the start of the new pay period. I essentially worked 5 hours for free. Now, I had no objection doing that. It was part of the responsibility that comes with the job, but there should be a greater accommodation made to the employees who often do spend those extra hours working and do not have the ability to recoup that as earned time, which they can take off. So I'd be happy expanding it far beyond the simple one pay period.
You mean
I
to
work for the
carry it
state
over.
Senate. Our earned time lasts for the duration of the calendar year.
You need to carry it.
Jackie?
I think what you're saying is you want to allow people to carry over their,
At least
their
to
time.
the next.
At least to the next pay period.
Because that gives you at
Right.
least 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It
I'm
isn't
okay with it.
necessarily a particularly difficult thing to account for if we are maintaining our proper punch time clocks, where if someone ends up, recording a surplus of scheduled hours in one particular pay period, why there couldn't simply be an addition of essentially PTO as a specific category of earned time that would be applied in a pool that could be
Yeah.
accessed later on. Extend it to the next pay period or a month. I mean, we can discuss how far to extend it. I don't think there's a resolution tonight.
How about
but
3 months?
I think 3 months is more than fair.
yeah, I think, I
mean,
don't want
obviously,
people
we can't implement that
accumulating.
until we have the payroll procedure in place. But that, again, doesn't necessarily need to be incredibly complicated to devise. We would simply be creating
We have a payroll procedure.
well, but the payroll procedure pretty much, yeah, exactly. We have the payroll procedure in place, but it doesn't account for the carryover from one pay period to the next. So we would need to develop a procedure for that. But as soon as the language for that could be worked out and implemented, I'm all in favor of moving
I
forward.
wouldn't want this to be unlimited carryover and accumulation that you can retire 5 years early or something.
No,
like that,
certainly
you know.
nothing like that, but if this is earned time, which is, to be
And they're
clear for
entitled
people
to.
watching at home, earned time is a sort of specific category, and a lot of town employees are hourly and a lot of them are salaried. This would specifically benefit salaried employees, as hourly employees in their contracts, especially, for instance, our union contracts, have overtime billing sort of worked into the terms of their contract. But salaried employees make the same amount of money regardless of how many hours they work in a particular pay period, whether they're using their PTO, et cetera. If an employee scheduled for 40 hours in a pay period ends up working 46, and they do not end up sort of taking 6 extra hours off of their work schedule in that pay period, they have just worked 6 extra hours and receive no additional compensation for it, and they receive no time off added to their pool of paid time in any type of recognition of that fact. It's not particularly fair to salaried employees. So expanding that period of time, do 2 pay periods, 3 pay periods, I'm happy to compromise and discuss with the board, simply gives our salaried employees a little more leeway with which to plan their scheduling, where they are incentivized to stay those extra hours, attend those extra events, do the work on behalf of the residents of this town, knowing that they will be able to, be compensated for that in additional time off that
Okay.
would be processed.
So we'll do 3 months.
I'm happy with 3 months if the board is happy
They're
with 3
okay with
months.
3 months?
Mhm.
Sure.
So
That's
can,
fine.
I'll set you up with our employee handbook. Can you review that and increase it to 3 months?
We can. That would typically fall under the umbrella of the town's labor council, which
Okay,
I believe is
that's fine.
Julie.
I'll
Okay.
Julie do that. Thank you, ma'am. Julie and Jason, okay. All right, next up, number 18, discussion of town animal control officer obligation to answer village calls. So the village police are calling the town animal control officer, and she's answering calls in the village of Fishkill, so this is a lawyer question. Does she have to take those calls?
No, she doesn't. Her jurisdiction would not extend to the village. One option would be to execute a intermunicipality agreement between the two and potentially share in the cost of the dog control officer. But to answer the question at issue of whether she has to respond, no, she would not have to respond.
That's what I was thinking, is
I want to
certainly.
ask one question from the clerk's standpoint.
Speak
We're
up,
required-
speak into the microphone, please, ma'am.
I keep forgetting that. Thank you, Brian. I know, I appreciate that.
Practice.
The town, I'm obligated to do all their dog licensing. So I have that legal responsibility, but yet we don't have to cover their calls.
I
They
think
don't
that,
do their own dog licensing. The town does the village's dog licensing.
sure,
Would that
understood.
matter at all?
It sounds like a,
Because we have that responsibility.
I think it would be a difference between administrative responsibilities and enforcement responsibilities, and it would be different for an enforcement officer, which is what the dog control officer is.
Right.
So where you might have an obligation under the town code to take in the licenses, I don't think it's broadly applicable to the dog control officer
Okay.
in this
thank you.
situation.
All right, so we don't have to do it.
no.
You don't have to, no.
Brian?
There's
can
no
you,
obligation.
Go talk to the village mayor? Well, how about we do this till the end of this month, to give the village at least a month to decide what they want to do? Either hire somebody or do a joint agreement?
Do an agreement.
Yeah,
So can you let the mayor know that?
that's
we're gonna-
at least a courtesy.
We'll continue doing it till the end of the month, end of July. And if she wants to go past July, we have to get into an intermunicipal agreement.
I'll let you know what happens.
Is that fair enough?
Should we,
I think so.
should we, just because there is a 6-day overlap between the end of July and when our August meeting takes place, which would be the earliest that we could consider approving an intermunicipal agreement, should we say that we'll continue doing it until our August meeting, and at that time either it will stop, as of the date of the August meeting, or we need to have an actionable item that we could work on that? And I'm just thinking of courtesy, because then if we were to enter into an intermunicipal agreement, but we decide here, okay, we're giving until the end of July, then there's a 6-day gap at the start of August.
No, I get
before
it.
we would be
I get
adopting
it.
the IMA.
So without getting too far in the weeds, just a real quick question. and that is, if we want to do an intermunicipal agreement, she may ask me, well, what does that look like? You know, so what conceptually would we be saying that would look like? Is it just an agreement to do it, or are they going to pay us a little money for the time?
If she's open to it, then the
I
attorneys can
think there's
talk.
always money.
Yeah.
Yes, and we could take that on if they were agreeable.
Yeah.
If you want to open that conversation and then pass it to us.
Take her time.
Perhaps if the board would consider maybe doing coverage until the end of August, just
Okay.
to give us
Time.
with vacations and whatnot during the summer and less meetings, that would give everybody time to work on an agreement and let them get another employee if that's what they want to do.
Maybe we need that time to work it out and then pass it early September.
So, yeah, so let's table this to the first September meeting.
Okay.
September?
Yep. Okay, and John, this is the one. Discussion to revise January 1, 2023 adopted longevity policy.
So basically, if a non-union employee has 10 years of service in the town, they are entitled to a $1,000 lump sum, longevity bump. So if somebody gets hired in August, they got to wait 11 months till the payment is paid off in July, because the resolution says July 1st. So I guess there's a couple of ways we can handle this. I was going to make an amendment to our current policy, maybe to do it March 15th and September 15th. So in case somebody does get hired in August and they hit 10 years, they get their payment in September. If they get hired in November, they wait till March.
Having two of them does make sense to me.
I mean, we just did it 2.5 years ago, so it's not like it's 50 years
Right. No,
old.
having two of them, I think, makes more sense than just moving it, you know, for instance, from July 1st to like January 1st, because then if you got hired
You're
in
always
August
gonna-
and you have to wait, well, then that same problem applies to somebody who got hired on January 28th.
Right.
So having
don't
two
know.
of them, I think, it just makes it more efficient. I don't see a huge issue with it as it's written, because no matter what, within that calendar year, you will receive your longevity bonus. So it's not a question of anybody being denied it. It's simply a question of convenience.
Yep.
And I think if we were to have two of them, perhaps as you said, one in the spring, one in the fall, 6 months apart, then nobody ends up actually having to wait more than 6 months for it, and it solves the convenience issue. But I don't think there's anything deficient in the way that it's written now.
My question, why did we just have this once a year? Is it because it's easier for accounting, as opposed to doing it on their anniversary date or the month of their anniversary date?
It's just how we worked it out with the labor attorney at that time period.
And I would assume that's for the purpose of simplifying the
Accounting.
the payroll, the
Yep.
accounting on that, if everybody's check is essentially being cut
I
at
mean,
the
if
same
it's
time.
easier to do
Because
it twice a year,
even
I'm
doing
okay
it,
with that.
I think it's harder to
Just
do it
kind of-
twice a year. It's easy for the employee, but now you have to basically create two separate databases of individuals who would be receiving it in the spring versus individuals who would be receiving it in the fall. They would have to go through that accounting and payroll process of cutting those checks twice a year instead of once a year. So
my question to the town attorney is this a town attorney issue since we're changing the policy, or labor attorney?
Yes, it would be for your labor council.
So maybe we bring it up with the labor attorney and just raise the complaint. I think it's a very good faith complaint that was brought to us by an employee who has been here a long time. Bring that to the labor attorney and allow the attorney to advise.
And what was the other thing we were going to talk to her about?
Just 1 second. So you okay with John's suggestion if that's the result?
If the labor attorney believes that that's a good way to go, then I'm always keen to side with the attorney. And then I'd be happy to go with John's idea. But if not, I don't see an issue with how it's written now. I get that it's inconvenient, but there's a logistical reason why it's the way it is.
Okay. Yes. So,
Okay.
John, take care of this one.
Yep.
And the other one, since you're going to be speaking to the labor attorney, is the earned time for employees. Bring it up from 2 weeks to 3 months.
2 weeks to 3 months. Got
Yes.
it. All right.
Mhm. So she's going to have to make 2 updates.
I'll take care of both of them.
Thank you, sir.
So are we closing this? Or just
Table.
Table it till August, so we should have a reply from Julie by then.
Table it to the
September.
second meeting of September, both of them, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
She takes a little time there.
Yep.
All right. Next up is software conversion and update minutes agenda. So the one great thing about the town of Fishkill, the prior supervisor, Lacola, did was he got all the meetings on TV, he got all the stuff on the computer, but after the years gone by, the software got old, and a different company bought them out. And if we don't do two things, the first thing is to save our data, it'll be gone forever, and then the second thing is to go into a new platform. So to save the data is what, about 45,000?
So it's about, yeah.
Go on,
so
Cooper.
It's gonna be about 40,000, so, you know, that'll include the new software, so.
No. There's two things. The 40,000 is for the saving of the old stuff,
Yep.
and then there's another 25 to do the new software, right?
So, yeah, so 26,000 will be for the new software moving forward. So we annually pay around 18,000 for our software. It'll now basically increase to 26,000. But because we're starting with the new software and what it entails, you know, our training, you know, our public portal, our streaming services, because the way it's broken up within the packet, that's where the 40,000 is coming from. So.
And just so that we can understand, the 40,000 will go to preserving the record of the more than 10,000 legislative documents, whether they be discussions, public hearings, resolutions, et cetera, that have come before this board since the implementation of the original software, and then taking those preserved documents and entering them into the new software program?
Correct. It'll be migrating the data over for us.
So that means that when your office, supervisor's office, is using the replacement for IQM2, all of the documents that, you know, that Becky and I have spent years creating, that Marie created while she was secretary, all of those will still be accessible. They'll be usable as references if language needed to be borrowed from those would all be usable by your office.
Yes.
Okay.
And so if you don't mind me talking about the new
Please.
software, because me,
That's
Debbie, our videographer.
That's back to 2014, right?
2014 since we've had this program, you know. But what's nice is that this new program, Legistar, incorporates some of the good features that come with Minitrack and kind of expand upon it for us, you know. So we'll have increased services. What's kind of cool, just kind of alluding at it right now, but like AI transcript, you know, and, you know, easier, I guess, accessibility when it comes to creating the minutes and agenda overall.
So this will improve the user interface
Yes,
and
the
how
workflow will
staff
be-
interact with it. More intuitive, easier to navigate.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be good, because I'm watching Becky close her eyes and chuckle at you know, in the system that we have now through Granicus has been, as the supervisor said, invaluable resource to the town. But as the years have marched on, the deficiencies that any software program develops as newer technologies, more intuitive technologies, are implemented in other programs, those deficiencies become more glaring and harder to ignore. It sounds like what you and Debbie Colonna, our network administrator, have been working very hard at is identifying the right step forward to preserve what we have, migrate it over, and make sure that the process moving forward will be as well integrated, as intuitive, and as user-friendly for staff as possible.
So,
Correct.
but the issue is that stuff, IQM2, is expiring and was bought out by Granicus. So
Correct.
it's not like they came to you and said, this is the deal kind of thing. And it seems logical because that's where our information can be easily,
Yeah.
Yeah, this isn't an optional, oh, it's time to upgrade. This is we have until 2027 because this software isn't going to be around anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't go with us, you will lose everything you have.
Yeah, and
You will no longer have access.
And with respect with these new systems, it takes time to like launch. There's like a 9-month waiting period.
Yeah.
So
That's the thing with the proprietary systems like that, is that everything that we enter into there, sure, we created it, but it's still in a proprietary software. They have no obligation to give that back to us to bring to a competitor. So it's understandable we end up in that situation where they sort of hold the gun to our heads. But at the very least, it seems like what they're offering us moving forward is a very good product.
yeah, and so what we had the supervisor do, because we spoke with him, we had him sign, but it's allowing us to kind of move forward but hold our place in the queue. There's no official like binding contract, not until like November, once we, you know, pass the budget. And how we have it set up is that these initial costs, like the 40,000, would be broken up over the course of the next 2 years. And what's a benefit to that too, in terms of cost saving effectiveness, is that if we sign, we go with everything. What we're paying now for our current software for the remainder of it will be credited off for the new project.
So with the 18,000 that we would be paying for 2026 would then be credited off of what we would owe?
Not the full 18,000, but probably I'd probably say like either the last quarter or going into like this.
Okay, so that transitional period where the two are sort of overlapping.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's useful.
So we still have access to
we'll still have
old
access,
records, they're searchable, and what have you.
We'll still have access to support when it comes to end of life as well. So if we didn't have it, we'd have a longer wait time. So it's important.
Sounds good.
Are we gonna get anything that has dollar signs next to it?
So
I hear $40,000, but there's nothing.
there should have been an attachment that kind of did like a breakdown of everything.
It's
Okay.
here.
Yeah.
In the packet?
Yeah, so
Page 50,
All right, I'm just looking at the attachment.
oh, 51.
sorry, I was trying to.
I got
get as much
50. Yeah, it starts on page 50.
Yep, that's our current
Yep, and
system.
So it explains like, what we're initially paying, what the initial Legistar cost coverage would be, what the annual coverage would be, and kind of breaking up kind of what we've just explained and talked about.
I'm trying to find.
Okay.
All right.
All right, you've given it your seal of approval.
Yes.
Okay.
We're good? All right.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy.
Next one is the recreation. We probably have one of the premier senior rec centers in the Hudson Valley. And the seniors are taking a trip. So many people wanted to go, we had to add a second bus. Everybody okay with 21?
Yeah, I mean, the fees are covering it, they just need to move the money.
Yep.
It's already paid for, it's
Cost
great.
neutral, revenue
This is not
neutral.
a taxpayer expense, this is just a procedural moving.
So, all right, now, privilege of the floor for agenda items. So anything that's on the agenda, you have the opportunity to speak about. Ms. LaGoy?
Hello, my name is Ann LaGoy. I am an active member of the Zoning Board of Appeals. I was reinstated, if that's the word, twice unanimously by this board. I have exemplary attendance. I have the training that's required, and I'm here to express my interest in becoming the active Zoning Board of Appeals new member, as at the end of the night, a position will open up. So I would welcome any questions that the board might have for me on why I am interested in this position. Again, I've been on the board for 2 years. I attend the training. I come prepared. I feel like I should have a tape recorder and just, this is the third time I'm having to say these same things to this board. So I welcome any questions that anyone might have.
I guess the only question that I have is, we spoke on the phone earlier. I saw this on the agenda, and I didn't hear from either you or the other alternate about, hey, it's on the agenda, I'm I see my name's not on here, I'm not being considered, and I would like to, to talk to you about that.
Well,
And neither one of you's called me.
That's what today was.
I
But
know.
may I address that?
Yeah, but
Okay.
I want just real quick.
That's fine.
I mean, I have nothing against the person who's on the agenda.
Oh,
who's
neither
being
do I.
considered.
Neither do
But,
I.
I'm running for a seat in the county legislature in November.
Okay.
I feel it's my responsibility, if I want to get caught up on things, to speak to County Executive Serino, the senator, the assemblyman, to find out what's going on so I can get caught up. They're not calling me up saying, hey, John, I hear you're running. I'll come down to Fishkill for an hour and talk to you. I feel it's my responsibility to contact them. And I feel
would like
in
to
this,
address that.
I would have thought one of yous, if there was interest, would have reached out.
John, if I can.
That's all.
And I know
Oh.
you're going to want to say something, but if I
Okay.
could just
Yes.
get my colleague for a moment. I very much appreciate that perspective, but I would like to just offer an alternative take on what you've just said,
Yep.
which is that as the appointing body to boards in the town, the ZBA, the planning board, any other boards or committees that the board, town board might establish, it has generally been our policy to try to publicize that there are vacancies and canvass the community for interest. It then becomes the onus of any interested individuals to come forward and do so.
Right.
But I am surprised and frankly a little disappointed. This is what I wanted to discuss when we were having the ZBA discussion item earlier,
Right.
because this is tangentially related, that the board would move to appoint not only a full-time voting member of a full voting member of the ZBA, without making any type of public canvass or even making a public statement or notice, putting it on the website, et cetera, that there was an opening and soliciting individuals who are interested to put their name forward, but that we are also, with their resolution on the agenda tonight, breaking from our habit in recent years of using the position of board alternates as a stepping stone for individuals who are perhaps new to a particular discipline, whether that be planning or zoning, so that they have, a year or two in which to, receive their trainings, attend meetings, become well-versed in the matters of planning and zoning. And then when an opening emerges on the main board as a full member, that they could be selected for that. And then the board would seek the interest of individuals who would then be appointed as an alternate. So I see the individuals out there this evening. He's a great guy, has worked hard for the town as our historian in the past. If he wants to be involved on the zoning board, I would be more than happy to interview and perhaps even put him on, but we really should be doing that as an alternate. I think it's very disrespectful to the two alternates who we have, that without making a public announcement of an opening, without soliciting anybody's interest or application for the position, that there is simply a resolution to appoint a full-time or as a full voting member of the ZBA, without even turning to the existing alternates, or to my knowledge, soliciting the input of the soon-to-be new ZBA chair as to his recommendation for which of the alternates should be interviewed and which of them he thinks should be appointed as a full member. I personally, when we get to that resolution, would like to see it tabled for 1 month so that we can go about the due diligence that I've just mentioned. And I hope that the two of you will consider that.
Yes,
Supervisor as
John.
well, Councilwoman.
Yeah, I sort of, John, I hear what you're saying. I
I would like to
totally,
address that, actually.
I would like to hear what you have to say on that.
I just went on
That's
for
okay.
2.5
But
minutes,
no
and in that span of
problem.
time, I forgot this was privilege of the floor.
It's okay.
I apologize.
It's okay.
Yeah, we need to
There really should have been a
discuss this
discussion item on that
at that.
resolution.
We should
I would
have,
have liked to have had this conversation now.
but this is about process,
Yeah.
you know? It was very sloppily done. There's a lot of people in the town who maybe want to serve. We don't even know that because it wasn't put out there.
Right.
Not to mention the people who are already there. That's.
Can I-
You know,
can
our
I
alternates on
address,
the
though,
zoning and
that
planning board,
comment?
what is the impetus for them to
Right.
attend meetings, to receive their trainings, if there is no avenue for them to then become voting members? I don't see what we're doing this in such a rush for and bypassing the procedures that we have tried to implement to maximize public participation.
So, again, and, you know, I want to address specifically, you know, that you didn't get a phone call. So there was an email sent the day after the ZBA meeting. There was no, to my knowledge, public acknowledgement that this was happening. So how a private citizen that is not on a board, whether it be town board or zoning board, would even know about this position, that kind of, it just is a little bit off to me.
That is an excellent. How did the applicant know to apply?
Right, it's literally 2 weeks. And no insult to government officials, but town hall sure moves slow. So to say, you know, we didn't call right away, I mean, how many times have I been in front of this board? Twice now, this is my third time, expressing interest and why I want to remain on the board. So another thing also, though, comes to mind is if you feel that the two alternate members are not qualified to be full-fledged members, voting members, why did you vote us both back on the board? So I don't agree with that kind of assessment. I hear you. Sue Serino's not calling you saying, hey, come on, let's talk. But it literally has been 2 weeks since that email was sent out to the town board. And, well, I don't know when the town board got it, but when it came into my mailbox, not when I saw it, but when it came into my mailbox, it was dated the 18th. And, you know, so as everyone here is aware, I run a not-for-profit, I work, so 2 weeks is just a blink of an eye. So I'm here tonight expressing to everyone here that I'm not just doing, you know, something just for giggles. I am doing the training, and I am up to date, by the way. I am being prepared for the meetings. I'm reading through these projects. Frankly, you know, the zoning board, I don't see a lot of public, including the applicant, at the zoning board meetings. So anyway, that is a discussion for the town board, but I will say this. If what has been projected for years that you would take an alternate member and then place them as a member, if that is overstepped or sidestepped, it really leaves a feeling with perhaps people who are watching this to say, why would I get involved with the town of Fishkill? Why would I spend my time going to these meetings? And, you know, listen, I involve myself in the discussion during those meetings. So if it is a question of lack of qualifications, that's something different. But if it's simply because I didn't call you or write an email to the board in 2 weeks from when we found out that the chair was resigning, I'm sorry, that just doesn't wash with me. Thank you.
Supervisor, before we move on, since we are on the topic and there is no discussion item for this,
Sure.
I would just like to flag for the town board's attention. If we turn to page 96 in the agenda packet this evening, I have the application from the applicant being considered this evening. The date of the application was June 3rd, 2015. 2025, I apologize, I misread that. June 3rd, 2025, the zoning board chair is the individual listed under question 2. How did you learn about this opportunity? Ron Davis, the individual whose resignation we will be accepting in the consent agenda this evening. So it would appear that we are now considering, without having made a public announcement of an opening on the zoning board, or interviewing either of our alternates for promotion from alternate to full voting member, we are considering the application of an individual who was personally recommended to apply by the departing board chair 2 weeks prior to that person's resignation. If this isn't inside baseball, I don't know what is. I think that
I don't see a recommendation. I see, how did you learn about this opportunity? I see his name on that.
Right, okay, let's...
I don't see a you said a recommendation.
You are, yes, let's...
That's semantics.
Let's change the word recommendation.
Okay.
I'm not implying that, the
Okay.
former chair has lent any type of vote of support or urged anyone to vote in any way on this at all. I'm simply saying that the applicant became aware that there was going to be an opening on the zoning board from the individual who was resigning from the zoning board 2 weeks before that individual resigned. So, I mean, let's just say for the sake of argument that this isn't applying for a position on the zoning board, this is buying stocks, this is insider trading, this is a felony. Now, this isn't that, but I don't know how the board can consider this resolution. I'm going to make a motion right now to table this at least until August and make a public announcement that there is an opening on the zoning board and solicit letters of interest from individuals, and that we begin the process of interviewing
Make
our
that
alternates.
Make that motion when we get to the resolution, Councilman.
Is it improper to make the motion now?
I mean, under privilege of the floor, I would
No.
say it would be inappropriate, but I
Okay,
think it
I
would
will
be
wait
proper
until that
then.
time. And I would like to say on the record, this is nothing against the applicant. I've known him for a few years. Upstanding gentleman, civic-minded, dedicated to the town of Fishkill. I would be very interested in reviewing and giving this application the attention and the consideration it deserves. But procedurally, this could not be worse from an optics standpoint or from a procedural standpoint. We got to do better than this. So I will make that motion when this comes up under resolutions.
So does anyone have any other questions as far as my qualifications to be a voting member of the Zoning Board of Appeals?
I have none.
Okay.
Should we have further questions, I think that it would be appropriate to ask those in a
Absolutely.
formal interview, along with
Sounds good.
An interview of the other alternate, who I believe is
Yes.
equally as dedicated as you have been.
Absolutely, yes. Thank you.
Anybody else? Russ?
Russell Malley, 142 Old Route 9. Just a comment. When my wife and I looked at the agenda, we said, why? Well, why wasn't Ann put up there? The transitions seem to make sense. She's been the alternate, just as she has discussed. And we just said, why is she not considered? So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Russ.
Thank you, Russ.
Jackie, any comments?
I kind of think it's a kind of a red herring, John, to compare you running for an office to something that's appointed by a board, because you have to go through the process of getting signatures and getting elected. And so I just don't think that's comparing, I think you're comparing apples and oranges.
I think it's also worth noting that when the county legislature hires people, they usually post a job posting for doing it, instead of just being like, hey, you.
There's vacancies announced too,
Yeah.
in the
All right.
parties, yeah.
Next up is the consent agenda. I need to amend it to remove items number four and 5. Can I present that as a motion? Can I have a second?
One moment, I'd just like to review what 4 and 5 are.
Yeah.
We're removing, those are the, are they just simply being removed from the consent agenda and made regular resolutions?
No,
or are
we
they
have to.
They're being pulled. Okay.
They're inaccurate.
Yes, we gotta make sure they're accurate.
So they caught that, Carmine caught that, and he wants them, so it'll be tabled once they're corrected, so they're just inaccurate right now.
Okay, so they're just being withdrawn from this,
Yes.
from this agenda.
Yeah, probably be on the next.
Okay, I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I present the motion to vote on the consent agenda. Present that as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Jackie, all in favor?
Aye.
Consent agenda is done. Number 1 for resolution will be resolution of modification of 2025, I'm sorry, the first one, yeah, okay.
Resolution
We tabled
confirming
that one.
property maintenance violation.
We tabled that one to next month.
Yes.
Resolution authorizing here's help, we tabled that to next month. Number 3, adoption of resolution to the 2025 adopted town outside village B fund balance to cover engineering expenses associated with the New York State DEC MS4 permits. So like I said earlier, we have to do mapping, and we have to do a whole bunch of stuff to get this done. And it's mandated, so we have no choice but to do it. So it's resolution ID 10048, whereas the town is obligated by the general municipal law to maintain a balanced budget in the governmental funds and the priority funds, whereas the control and direction of the supervisor has requested a budget modification to cover engineering costs with the meeting specific compliant timelines associated with the New York State DEC Speedies permit, SPDES, general permit for stormwater discharges from municipal separate stormwater systems, MS4, whereas the town budget modification requests an increase of expenditure line Bravo 14405.0455 Town Outside Village Fund Engineering Outside Services by $88,200, an increase in revenue line Bravo 12204.9999 Town Outside Village Fund Appropriated Fund Balance by $88,200. I'll present that as a motion. Can I have a second?
No.
Why?
Because it doesn't actually, now therefore be it resolved, anything.
Okay.
We need to amend this.
So amend it to what?
We need to have a now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Fishkill does hereby approve. The budget modification request is contained herein for expenditure line, I'm not going to read it out, town outside village fund by $88,200, and an increase in revenue line, I'm not reading it out, Town Outside Village Fund by $88,200, and that this resolution is effective immediately.
So why don't you read that last line again?
Okay.
So we can just correct it.
Let's just acknowledge the whereases as having been read. Now therefore be it resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Fishkill does hereby approve the budget modification request is contained herein for an increase of expenditure line Bravo 14405.0455, Town Outside Village Fund Engineering Outside Services by $88,200, and an increase in revenue line Bravo 12204.9999, Town Outside Village Fund appropriated fund balance by $88,200, and be it further resolved, the town supervisor and his designee are hereby directed to take any and all actions necessary to carry out the provisions of this resolution, and be it further resolved, this resolution is effective immediately. I make a motion to amend the resolution to say that.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And Supervisor, you would now introduce the amended resolution as a motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt the amended resolution. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good job, Greg.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Next one up is a resolution to appoint engineering consultant, MJ Engineering, for MS4 technical support, ID number 10046. Be it resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Fishkill hereby authorizes MJ Engineers and Land Surveying, PC, to act as town engineer for the MS4 technical support for the 6 months and 1 year compliance assistance not to exceed the amount of $88,200. Be it further resolved that the Town Board authorizes the Town Supervisor to accept and execute the agreement for the MS4 technical support. I present that as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Brian, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, passes. Okay, next one is the resolution.
Number 5.
Yep. 3, 4, 5. Next up is resolution to authorize the renewal of workers' comp policy, ID 10064. Be resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Fishkill hereby authorize the renewal of the town's workers' compensation and employee liability insurance with the Public Employer Risk Association permit for the coverage period July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2026. Total contribution and New York State assessment amount of $94,452. And be it further resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Fishkill hereby reappoints Emery and Webb, 989 Main Street, Fishkill, New York, as a broker of record for the workers' compensation insurance. I'll present that as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Brian, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next up, resolution to appoint Arnold Restivo as zoning board of appeals.
Move to table.
So what you have to do is, I'd like to make a motion to table.
Can I have a remark, please?
Well, he's making a motion, and you have to ask for a second.
Yes, may I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, what's the discussion?
So, the town board does appoint people, there's no doubt about that. The town board also does not interfere with the zoning or planning board's day-to-day activity or month-to-month activity. They have their own jurisdiction. We're not supposed to exercise any influence whatsoever. So I actually am going to miss Ron Davis. I want to just take this opportunity to say he gave his time and he gave all this effort, and he's a highly ethical man and a really good guy, and I really will miss him being around town, but he's got plans to sell his house and move out of state, so why not drop the board now anyway?
Hey, and
so, but
very well said. A long-standing and dedicated servant to the town of
I
Fishkill.
agree.
But I'm not
Thank you
finished.
very much, Ron.
But I'm not finished. So, I mean, I have not kept up with, process here. I did not keep up with, I just saw that we had Arnold, who I like a great deal, and I thought, well, that's a nice difference to the board. There's just no doubt about that. And he's given a lot of time, et cetera, and I appreciate the fact that we have two alts that are on there right now, and yes, we voted for them. I don't know if we had anybody else at the time applying, but that's okay. So I'm not certain that I would not vote for Arnold if we tabled this for a month. I'm not saying that. But for the point of fairness, and I did indicate that, yeah, I mean, I'll vote for Arnold. I like Arnold. But I see that there may be a hole in the process, and that's okay if we take a month and we take a look at this and we and spread the word and get some more applications that might be out there. Again, does not mean I'm not necessarily going to vote for them. I don't know how I'm going to vote.
Right.
But I would agree to table for the next meeting.
Thank you, Brian. It's not anything, Arnold's a great guy. I look forward to talking with him when the meeting's over, and his application deserves our full attention. It more than merits it. But we can't escape the fact at this exact moment that the only person who knew to apply for consideration at this board meeting is the one applicant that we received.
Well,
and we have an obligation to, as you've just said, just put it back a month and just give people an opportunity to come forward if they're interested.
And
Give everybody a shot.
I don't know that there's any alternative motive. I'm not hearing of any alternative agendas out there. It's just the way it was, as far as I'm concerned. I don't want to beat it to death. Let's just move on and see what happens in a month.
So, Madam Clerk, table that to the next meeting,
We
please.
do need to vote on the motion to table.
Do we?
I would vote on the motion to
Okay,
table.
go on.
It was moved
You had a
and
second.
seconded.
I second.
Yeah, she seconded.
All in favor to table?
Aye.
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 Next resolution will be item number 7, a resolution to increase pay rates for the full-time court clerks. So we had 3 full-time clerks. The judge wants to keep 2 full-time, make 1 part-time, and give a couple dollars, go from $29.12 to $31 for one, and $21.84 to $23.50 for the other. Any discussion on that?
This is Judge Ray Race, who is...
Judge Ration, Judge Theo.
He's
Solano.
going down to 2 bodies?
So it would be 2.5.
2.5, okay.
So he's saying this is also keeping him competitive, so people are not hired away from him, so I agree with his argument.
Yeah, we have excellent court clerks here, and this is, it's a modest increase. It's certainly not jarring, and especially with the elimination of 1 full-time position and transferring that to a part-time position. I think that's very, very justifiable.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree, you know, he's not trying to add an extra position and go way out of budget on things, so I appreciate that.
Okay. Resolution to keep increased pay rates for the full-time court clerks, ID number 10061. Whereas the Justice Court of the Town of Fishkill currently has 2 full-time clerks and 1 open vacancy for a full-time clerk, and whereas the Town Board has received a request from Judge Raish and Judge Solano to modify the salary of the 2 full-time clerks as follows. 1 court clerk salary will increase from $21.84 to $23.50 per hour, and the other court clerk salary from $29.12 to $31 per hour. And whereas the judge's request for the additional full-time court clerk position be converted into a part-time court clerk position at $21 per hour, and whereas the Town Board desires to grant this request, now therefore be resolved by the Town Board as follows. Section 1, all the whereas paragraphs are incorporated herein as referenced set forth in full. Section 2, the Town Board hereby authorize the salary increases set forth above for the full-time clerk position. Section 3, the Town Board hereby authorize the Justice Court to fill in the third court clerk position with a part-time position in lieu of the full-time position set forth above. Section 4, this resolution shall be effective immediately. Present that as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Greg, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're going to table number 8 to next month. Becky?
Body cameras?
Yeah, the PBA wants to have a meeting and discuss
Okay.
it. So give them that courtesy.
Supervisor, would you like me to be at that meeting?
What meeting?
With the PBA?
No.
Okay.
You'll
handle that?
I've never been to one. Anybody?
What?
A PBA meeting.
Oh, they're not going to meet with you, they're meeting amongst themselves?
Yeah, it's their own private.
Well, they need to invite us.
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that private?
I misunderstood. I thought that you were saying that the PBA wanted to meet with you on
No.
They want to have a meeting.
They want to have
vote
their
it back
meeting,
to us.
discuss it first.
Understood.
So if there's any questions, we'll have them, but, all right.
9 and 10 are table?
9 and 10. Should we just close those 2 out?
I think so. Given the discussion in your comments earlier, I think the board will have revisions to make, so close them out and we can start fresh.
9 and 10 done. Close them out. All right, so now we're up to items for special consideration. We have only one, and this is to get our EFPR advisory preparation for the town's annual financial report, Resolution ID 10070. Whereas the town of Fishkill is required to undergo a financial audit annually and prepare a financial report of the town's finances, and whereas it is necessary for the town to retain accountants to conduct the audit of the town's finance and prepare the town's annual financial report, and whereas the town board has before the proposed retainer letter from EFPR Advisory for conducting the audit and preparing the town annual financial report, a copy which is annexed here too. Whereas the town board finds itself in terms and conditions of the proposed retainer would be acceptable, now therefore be it resolved that the town board approves the retainer agreement for PR Advisory for conducting the preparing of the town's annual financial report, and the town board is authorized to execute the retainer agreement and documents necessary carried out. So they're going to do the years 23 and 24 for a total of $7,500. Any questions?
Fair enough.
This is Mr. Douglas Zimmerman's organization, correct?
Yes, so...
He's been doing our audits for several years, and every year when he
Very
comes
good.
and makes a presentation for the board, I think the town finds them very informative, and the audits have always been very thorough. I know that our town staff have a very good relationship with the FPR. All in favor?
Jackie?
Yeah, I agree. I've been through a number of audits with them.
Yeah, these guys are very
They're very
good.
well. They do things very well.
Yeah, they just completed our 24 audit. Everything looks good. The controller at least signed off on that thing. I was trying to get him to do one of these things, but it didn't work out. And I want to keep this in I'm going to keep having these guys do it in the future, so if the controller changes, we don't have to deal with this in the future. So I present this as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. New and old business, Jackie?
Well, we have the 4th of July coming up. I want to wish everybody happy 4th. And we have a great country if we can keep it. So let's, let's enjoy the holiday and remember, all the great things that we've accomplished as a country, and, continue to be dedicated to the Constitution and the rule of law.
Thank you.
That's all I have to say.
Greg?
In keeping with that theme and with Independence Day being on Friday, I am reminded of words that John Adams wrote to his wife about Independence Day and how it should be commemorated. He wrote, "It ought to be solemnized with pomp and parade, with shows, games, sports, guns, bells, bonfires, and illuminations, from one end of the continent to the other, from this time forward, forevermore." Now, those words turned out to be prophetic, but they are slightly inaccurate because the date he was referring to as Independence Day was today, July 2nd. See, Adams, like us here on the board, was a legislator, and on July 2nd, the Continental Congress approved the resolution by which the Continental Congress was declaring independence from Britain. The problem was that they were approving a declaration which had a whole bunch of amendments that were made to it, and a fresh draft needed to be written, reviewed, approved, and then signed by the President of the Congress, John Hancock. And that process wasn't completed until July 4th. And then it was sent to the printers, and it said July 4th, and the rest, as they say, is history. That's all I got. John?
So I believe the village will have a reading of the Constitution on Friday?
Declaration.
11 o'clock.
11 o'clock, and I know there'll be one in Beacon on Friday as well. And the only other thing is there'll be National Night Out on Tuesday, August 5th at Gearing Park. We meet at the town board the next night, so we won't have another meeting before
Very
that.
well spotted. That's
You
true.
like that, Greg, huh?
Keep forgetting we only have one meeting in July.
So Tuesday, August 5th, I'm sure the supervisor will put that out on the eGov, Gearing Park. That's all.
Brian?
So, yeah, it's a reading of the Constitution at 11 in the village, and then at 2 o'clock at Vine Wyke, there is Meet Benjamin Franklin, a gentleman that is a reenactor. It's about an hour-long ceremony, so that would be interesting as well. I do have new business, and I hope this doesn't take long, but it's for the board to, if we want to put it on the agenda for the next meeting, that's fine. But we're talked tonight about, and we have in the past, about properties who have fallen through the cracks or allowed themselves to fall through the cracks as far as maintenance. And so we, the town board, have penalized them. All right? So here we are entering the 250th, and we're doing a lot of things to celebrate. Ozzy, you and I are working very hard on a number of things, and we're very proud of that, and it's going to be really good. But I happen to know, I get calls, I think we all do, about a certain property at the Dutchess Mall, and how if you review our comprehensive plan update, Gateway is important to the town of Fishkill. Gateway for the 250th, for me, is all the more important. Now, there are a number of things to consider about said property that I know we're all talking about. It's like, how do we remain patient while I know the management company is seeking someone to sign on the dotted line to build something brand new that would take care of the blight? But what if it falls through once again? I've been here since 2019. Or was it earlier than that? It might have been earlier. It was 1999, actually. Thank you. I'm a senior citizen, forgive me.
It's all good.
So 1999, and that thing has been a blight from that point. People have been here their entire lives. I have people tell me for 30 years they're looking at that. I just want to throw this towards the town board for discussion purposes on potentially engaging our building inspector to give us a status, to go and meet with these people, see a status on where things are, give us a status on the condition.
How about on all the projects that are going on in Fishkill?
And all the projects.
So we're not identifying one. There's a lot of stuff going on in Fishkill.
Right.
And I don't think we ask a lot of the building inspector. And maybe he could come at the August meeting, and maybe there's 15 projects going on, and he could just give us an update.
So would you like him to do a presentation?
I would like for him to contact the management company of that property and give us a fair assessment on where it is right now. And are there any compliance issues with the way it looks right now? I have talked to the gentleman, you've talked to the gentleman that has the management company. I respect him. This is not an attack. It's just, I think we've all gotten very desensitized by the way that it looks. And going in the 250th, if he's got somebody that's going to take over and start building and make it gorgeous, that's fine. But if it falls through, then where are we again? Are we waiting again and again and again? It's a blight. And quite frankly, the town is tired of it. Quite frankly, I think we need to make some documentation and make some moves. And I've talked with our attorney about this. I don't know what comments you may have at this particular point.
Thank you, council member. With regard to the points that you raise, all properties are expected to comply with the code, and it's up to the enforcement to ensure that there is compliance. So even if a project is before the planning board, even if they have approvals, even if it's an abandoned property, you still have to maintain it. And I think that those are the issues that are being raised by Councilmember Rye. So that is something that the board will need to consider and to discuss with the building inspector, because it's ultimately about enforcement and whether or not you want to enforce it. I mean, the board had 2 property maintenance proceedings before it on the agenda tonight. So it's similar that the expectation of all property owners is compliance with the code.
All right, so Ryan, let's make this quick. I'll order the building inspector to come in the next meeting to give a presentation on all properties.
Fine. And then with discussing
because we can ask him directly when he's here, all these questions.
It sounds good.
So Cooper, next meeting, presentation, building inspector.
Okay.
Okay? Well, hopefully he's not on vacation, so I take that back. So I don't know if he will be or not, but yeah, we'll get him here and.
Or the next meeting at which he is available.
Yeah, next meeting which he is available. And that would be what, August 6th possibly?
August 6th.
August 6th.
Okay, I'll try to get him on there.
September 3rd would be the one after that, right?
Yep, September 3rd.
September 3rd, okay. So we'll get him in there for one of those two.
Okay.
Did you already go?
I'm done.
Are you done? Okay, so,
We're going in executive.
no, Ms.
Well,
Wilson,
we're
I
not
got,
there yet.
yeah,
still has.
Sorry.
so I got two things. These new HOA developments, right? They put up stop signs, traffic control devices. It's come to my attention that the town board might have to get permission from the HOA Board of Directors to do traffic enforcement. Is there another mechanism where we could pass a town law that allows us to just do that from the get-go?
For subdivision developments is the question, private roads that the town doesn't
Not
maintain?
private roads, not private roads, yeah, roads that we don't maintain, yes,
Okay, but roads within a subdivision?
yes.
And it's the town board's position that you want to authorize the police department to have the authority to issue citations for traffic violations? I'll look into that. I don't know that the town board could pass a local law giving that authority, or if it has to have the permission granted by the HOA. So I can check that out and get back to you, if that's okay.
Can I ask you a question? So, because I totally agree with this and spoke with a commissioner about that. Once they give permission, is it like a limited period of time where they say you have permission so that it's ad infinitum, time-wise?
I wouldn't think that once you give permission to the police department to enforce that it would have a time limitation and an expiration.
That's good. I would hope it wouldn't.
It wouldn't.
That would need to
It
be
would not.
irrevocable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're talking, we probably have about 15 HOAs that we have to go around and get permission to do any enforcement.
That's what I'll check into. But if it's private roads and it's private property, essentially, and the town doesn't maintain it, then it is a question of whether the police would have jurisdiction to go onto the property to issue a violation.
So an HOA can put their own stop sign up or any type of traffic control device, like speeding signs and all that other stuff?
They can put up their own signs, whether or not they have legal enforcement is another question.
Okay. Commissioner, any questions?
We had some concerns from some of the residents in a particular location here in town. That's why I brought it to the town attorney's attention. No different in private property of Walmart and some of the shopping centers. It's under, I believe, 1640A, the vehicle traffic law, along with under Chapter 143 of the town code. So I believe Supervisor, you have a copy of that there. I guess the question here tonight is, do we have to go to the homeowners association or whoever maintains those properties? No different in like Walmart, where we do have a letter from them. They want us to go down there and enforce the handicap and fire lanes and et cetera.
So in this one, Mr. Gabbard says, long answer under New York State VNT 1640, capital A, small a, municipality may undertake traffic regulation enforcement on certain private properties such as shopping centers and apartment complexes, but if, number one, the municipality has a local law allowing such traffic regulation enforcement, and two, there is a written request from the owner of the person in charge of the property, so the municipality can undertake traffic enforcement. And then there's another one, Section 143 has a provision in it to allow traffic regulation enforcement on private property upon written request by the owner. So I'd like to know if we could just do number one.
Okay, thank you. Yes,
Pass
I
that.
will look into that.
So we could do number one, I'd rather just do a local law and end it, instead of you going all these HOAs asking for permission, but some of them might say no.
Here.
Okay, so if it is permitted by the code, the sections that you cited, and per Mr. Gaba's letter, is that something the board wants
That's
us
his
to
email, right?
authorize? Do you want to authorize us to prepare the local law?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, for the
You
next
guys okay
meeting,
with that?
at least to introduce it and
Yeah,
schedule a public
absolutely.
hearing?
If it's something that we have the authority to adopt, then by all means, we should prepare it so we can review it and put it before the public for their review.
Okay,
I'd rather
I'm
just
fine
do
with that. Okay,
That would be easier to do a public hearing than to have them chase around all these developments.
Yeah, I think they
Yeah,
would need to give
absolutely.
us permission. I mean, they're open to traffic, public traffic already, right? That's, I think would be part of it, but they would need to give us permission. We can't just go in
I think that it's an interesting question. With Walmart, you said that they have to give you a letter, correct? Even though that they're open to the public and anybody can go shopping there. And I think that there would be a potential distinction with subdivisions that are private and potentially not open to the public. But if the law allows a local law to enforce on all property, private or public, then of course we want to do whatever is.
I can't wrap my head around the idea that it wouldn't be something that our police department would have authority to do. I recognize that there are laws, but I do not understand the mentality behind it. If we were to, for instance, have a uniformed patrol officer driving in their patrol car down a town road and observe a vehicle on a private road in an HOA that is blatantly disobeying New York State vehicle and traffic law, for instance, doing donuts on a private street or visibly speeding beyond any posted speed limit within the town, that police officer isn't able to issue a citation because it's occurring on private property, even if the vehicle is being operated in violation of traffic law. I can't wrap my head around it.
I think that there could be a comparison of what if somebody's speeding up the driveway to their house, but they're on their private property, they're violating the law, but it's on private property. So I do believe that there would be a distinction.
I recognize that there is a disconnect. I don't understand the logic behind it, that's all.
Yeah.
If it's a crime to do it on a public road, why is it somehow unenforceable if it's taking place on a private one?
Understood.
I mean,
and if the board,
for instance, if a person were to commit a crime, say a domestic incident or an assault, inside a home located in a private HOA, our police could still be dispatched there and they don't need to ask the permission of the HOA to respond to an emergency call for a crime in progress on that private property. But they can't enforce a traffic incident or a traffic violation that's occurring on the same area. I don't understand the logic behind the law.
Thank you, Greg.
Sure,
So if we can
understood.
do a
Thank
local
you.
law, let's just do that.
Sure.
My second thing is, we had a private homeowner had a sewer line rupture last year. They owe us 20 grand. Mr. Gabble's going to do a follow-up letter. I'd like to give this to you, too.
Thank you.
So review that. I want to know if Mr. Gabble sent
Homework,
that letter
Sarah.
out. Okay, and the last thing I want to say is to thank Judge Raish and Judge Salato for getting a $30,000 grant to do the carpeting here and in the courtroom. So it was well done. Thank you, judges. We appreciate that. Our next meeting is August 6th. And we are going to go into executive session. Councilman Foreman, you want to go into executive session?
Yes, and the topic is proposed purchase of real property. We're not coming back into session, and there'll be no voting.
There'll be no voting. I'll make a motion to leave the regular course of business, go into executive session. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. Happy 4th of July. Bye-bye.
Have a quick recess.
Happy 4th.
Yeah, man.